Well, it's getting darker earlier and earlier these days, and we're getting some autumn weather finally after 2 days of it feeling like summer around here. We're finally getting some cool, dark, gray, not really stormy weather, but just a little bit atmospheric. And it is pretty awesome given that Halloween is right around the corner. And I love these clouds. It's not raining. It did not rain today, but it was kind of cloudy, but not that cold. I'd say like mid to high 60s, almost 70 in the middle of the afternoon. So I had opened the window, and now it's getting a little bit cooler. So I've closed the window. I'm also trying to fill up this tub so I can wash some clothing, hand wash some clothing, but the water suddenly smells like vomit. And there's been somebody making smacking noises directly behind this wall throughout the afternoon. As you just saw, today is Sunday, September 29th. Hard to believe that we're almost at the end of September. Tomorrow's the 30th. And right now the water stinks like vomit. So I've had to dump everything that I had in this tub, which was water and maybe a little soap, and just let the water run because I'm not sure how there's a vomit smell coming out of that tap. I don't vomit. I haven't vomited like in years. Literally, I don't vomit ever. But the water smells like somebody vomited into it, and it's been a continuous stench coming from the water from this tap. The Greenville Group has hired, as they've admitted, the services of a career criminal who's also a psychopath named Jasmine Irizarry. And ironically enough, when I was conducting my PhD program's clinical internship a couple of miles down the road at the local mental hospital, one of my friends from my PhD program was a group therapist for a group in which one of the members was a psychopath named Jasmine who vomited on command. And she said that the staff, meaning my friend, said that the staffers had to wear protective gear around this psychopath named Jasmine because she would compulsively and deliberately vomit on people on command. Like she could literally just make herself vomit spontaneously. I'm assuming that's the same psychopath who Greenville has been renting the unit behind this wall to for 10 years. They told me in 2022 that they had moved her out of Unit 78 located behind this wall, but then continued to house her in this building. And because Irizarry is a career criminal who has demonstrated the ability to pick locks, she keeps letting herself into the vacant premises of the unit behind this wall, which for some strange reason, Greenville has not rented in 2 years. It's a large unit with its own bathroom, but Greenville has refused to rent it officially to anyone in 2 years, ever since they said they moved the psychopath out. Well, why won't they move the psychopath back in? I mean, it's empty anyway, right? She's always in there. So the fact that the water from this tap suddenly started stinking like vomit when I started filling up this tub right here to wash a few tights and socks is a sign not just of the fact that there are surveillance devices in this unit, as everybody has been telling me for years. And by everybody, I mean everybody, coworkers, friends, family members, law enforcement, Greenville's own staffers themselves, maintenance managers from the Greenville Group have told me, oh yeah, we know there's surveillance devices in your unit, but we don't have access to the footage. If you want access to the footage, you would have to talk to Oleg. All right, fine. Well, Oleg is not ponying up the footage, and like a true sociopath, he lies about everything. So you can't get a straight answer out of him. But it is a really nice evening, aside from the stinking tap water that prevents me from being able to do anything with it right now. It's a beautiful evening, very cool, very atmospheric, very autumn-like. And because I did a bit of cleaning and organizing earlier today and cleared up some space on my table finally, so I can actually use it once again like a normal person instead of eating my meals like in the hallway. I feel like I can rest a little bit, and I have been resting on my bed since probably 5:30. And I'm watching Midsummer Murders, one of my favorite British murder TV shows. I have been obsessed with Inspector Barnaby for years. There's something about Inspector Tom Barnaby that I just can't get enough of. He's a hard-nosed, no-nonsense, traditional discipline kind of guy, and I like that. In an era where law enforcement has become completely useless, especially in the United States, and they are now as criminal as the people they are supposed to be arresting. I like to watch these shows where law enforcement actually does its actual job, which is to arrest the criminals and put them in prison. This entire building complex where I reside is filled with criminals, who have not been placed in prison. They've been given a slap on the wrist and placed in single occupancy rooms by the system because they have mental health issues. Isn't being a criminal like an actual mental health issue? So don't they belong in prison and not in a regular apartment building where people such as myself are also rented rooms to by the management, who then refuses to provide any kind of monitoring of the criminal behaviors of the psychopaths they rent to. And then if you're one of the law-abiding citizens who has to pay their own rent out of pocket, as I always have had to do, the management tells you that they can't do anything about the behavior of the psychos and sex offenders they rent to because it's out of their hands. No, it's not. You can easily move them somewhere else. You guys are the ones who place these idiots in all of the adjacent units to mine, and then you refuse to do anything about their behavior when you're using surveillance devices in my unit to provide these perving, creeping psychos with footage of what I do in the privacy of my bathroom. Really? So that's on them. But in spite of the stinking tap water and the fact that I have to cover up my entire toilet area, my bathroom, whenever I use it, otherwise the psycho piece of shit directly below in 76 starts violently slamming a rod directly underneath the feet of my toilet, my feet when I'm on the toilet, to let me know that he knows that I'm on the toilet. I mean, that's how mentally disturbed these ass wipes are. And that's also how visible the use of surveillance devices is in this unit, that people in the adjacent units aren't very shy about slamming things around when I have to remove clothing. It's almost like they want me to know that they can see what I do in here. But again, I'm actually having a very nice evening. It's a very spooky kind of Halloween-y feel. It's not raining, but might start raining. I would love a rainstorm tonight, like a cool, windy rainstorm where the wind is like hitting the windows and there's lightning and thunder. I love that stuff. So even if it doesn't rain, I'm going to just relax for a couple of hours, finish watching my Midsummer Murder. I love Tom Barnaby. I'm not so keen on the later episodes after Inspector Barnaby left and his cousin became the main inspector. I'm just not so keen on the cousin, but I love Inspector Tom Barnaby, as played by John Nettles, great British actor. So I'm enjoying that, and I'm just going to relax, and maybe the water from the tap will stop smelling like vomit so I can actually finish washing my tights and my socks. But I'm not going to hold my breath. I mean, there's a psychopath who claims to be a structural engineer who likes to contaminate the water to my kitchen tap and has been doing so ever since June of 2019, when that same psychopath, Irizarry the Psycho Scum, engaged in a lot of construction and plumbing work against the pipes to my sink on a Sunday afternoon when Greenville claimed they had nothing to do with any work being done in the unit, in the bathroom of the unit behind this wall. And that's when the water started to smell really foul whenever I would try to use it for hand washing dishes or drinking or washing my face or brushing my teeth. So obviously there's a saddle valve being used. All of a sudden the phone jumps out of my hand. There's a saddle valve being used against the intake pipe to this tap right here. Saddle valve is a very easy to use, cheap, commonly obtainable piece of hardware you can clamp around the intake pipe to any sink or shower. And because the saddle valve has a nozzle attachment, you can attach a nozzle and pump in whatever filth, contamination, and hazardous substances that you want into someone's tap water. And that's obviously what's been happening over the last few months to this sink and to my shower. And also over the last few years. It started happening in 2019, as I reported. There's also significant damage to the floor around the sink because saddle valves tend to leak. And the fact that there is a saddle valve being used against the intake pipe to this sink, which also carries water to the back of the floor and affects the safety and usability of the water in the common bathrooms, as I've been reporting, that is a serious problem. And it is causing some kind of a leak behind the wall of this sink that is causing damage to the floorboards, because the floorboards are becoming more and more soft and spongy, and then the tiles are cracking. So that's a code violation that Inspectional Services cited the Greenville group for, and they haven't fixed it. You see that crack right there where the tiles are literally cracking and coming off? That's damage from the water that is somehow seeping into the floorboards from behind the sink, where Irizarry, Greenville's career criminal, installed a saddle valve against the intake pipe to that sink back in 2019, and it's been leaking and causing problems including health and safety issues regarding the safety of that tap water ever since 2019. But again, I'm loving this evening. Beautiful, cool, atmospheric, slightly spooky evening. And I'm going to enjoy it watching the rest of the Midsummer Murders episode that I just selected. And maybe if I have time later, a couple of Halloween movies. We'll see. I have a ton of stuff to do, so I can't really watch movies a lot these days. Can't remember the last time I actually watched a full-length episode of any kind of TV show or movie. It was probably at least 2 weeks ago. But maybe tonight I'll be able to do that. I hope so.